Damien was a very big advertising executive. He had everything: money, power, and every woman he wanted. But in reality, he was a terrible person. He saw women as nothing more than toys. First, he would sweet-talk them into his trap, spend the night with them, and then send them away the next morning with expensive gifts, so they would quietly leave his life forever without asking any questions. One day, a big business party was going on at a private island. There, Damien was leisurely playing golf while his boss, Fred, was busy finalizing deals with big clients. The CEO of the Guinness company wanted to hire their agency, but a big problem arose. His board of directors had clearly stated that they would only work with an agency that had equal representation for women. However, Fred's company did not have a single female creative director. Hearing this, Fred became furious. But then, Damien smiled and spoke up. He lied, saying that their company had just promoted a woman to creative director the previous week. Hearing this, the CEO was pleased, and the deal moved forward. But as soon as they were alone, Fred looked at Damien in confusion. He asked who this new director was, as he had never heard of her. Then Damien laughed and told the truth. He had lied in front of everyone. He said they would promote any female employee when they got back. Surprisingly, instead of being angry, Fred was impressed by Damien's cleverness. He happily said that when he retired, Damien would be the next CEO of the company. After this, Damien immediately called his assistant, Ruby, and asked her for a list of female creatives. Ruby started reading names, but Damien, just to get it over with quickly, randomly chose the first name. That name was Alex. Meanwhile, at the office, Alex was told that everyone else was going to the pub, so she would have to finish all the remaining work alone. Just then, Ruby came to her and smiled, saying that she had a meeting with Damien the next morning because she was getting a promotion. However, Ruby didn't tell Alex that she had been chosen randomly. Hearing this news, tears came to Alex's eyes. She happily hugged Ruby. Emotionally, she said that she had been working in this company for 20 years. She had taken a break from work to raise her daughter, but after coming back, everything had changed. Now the office was mostly filled with young people, and she always felt like she didn't fit in. Meanwhile, in the evening, Damien got a call from his mother. He quickly lied, saying that he remembered her birthday and was already on his way to the dinner party. The truth was, if Ruby hadn't already bought a gift, Damien would have arrived empty-handed. When he reached home, his mother hugged him lovingly, but his father and his brother-in-law, Chris, weren't happy to see him at all. It was clear that Damien had no real attachment to his family. He kept his distance even from his young nephews. On the other side, Alex was having dinner with her daughter, Charlie. Charlie talked about her father, who was now dating much younger girls. Then she looked at her mother and said, "Mom, you need to learn to stand up for yourself." Even though Alex and her husband were divorced, the bond between mother and daughter was very strong. The next morning, Damien arrived at the office, where he ran into Alex in the lobby. But Damien didn't even recognize her. He thought Alex was hitting on him, so he started flirting as usual. Every word he said had double meaning, while Alex thought he was talking about work. After a while, they both got into the elevator and got off at different floors. Meanwhile, Damien also flirted with his old receptionist Felicity, who had been working at the same company for 23 years. When Damien reached his office, Ruby brought Alex to his cabin. It was then that Alex realized Damien didn't even remember her name, but Damien immediately smiled and lied. He congratulated Alex on her promotion and claimed that he had personally chosen her. After this, everyone went to a creative meeting for the new Guinness campaign. The company wanted to increase its female audience, so Damien announced in front of everyone that Alex would help them understand the female perspective. The reality, however, was that he didn't even know Alex's surname. As the meeting began, all the male employees started giving one useless idea after another. They talked about things that men actually liked, but presented them as perfect for women. Alex tried multiple times to stop them and give her correct opinion, but no one let her speak. In the end, to save her job, she just smiled and remained silent. After the meeting, a creative employee asked Damien if Alex was going to take his job. Damien laughed and said, "No, she's just here to show the female perspective." Unfortunately, Alex heard this. Angry, Alex lashed out at Damien, but Damien, instead of apologizing, started acting as if he was doing her a favor. He said she should be happy that she got a promotion just for being a woman. Then he went on about the difficulties men face. Now, Alex's patience snapped. She clearly said that he was the real problem and quit her job on the spot. As she was leaving, Damien followed her and started insulting her, calling her too sensitive. But while walking angrily, he didn't see the pole in front of him and hit his head straight into it. The next moment, he fell unconscious to the ground. Sometime later, 2 female paramedics brought him back to consciousness. They wanted to give him medicine, but Damien said he was perfectly fine. On his way back, he saw a homeless man with a pigeon sitting on him. The man stared at him strangely and said, "You will never get out of here." Damien didn't understand his words and returned to the office. But as soon as he reached the office, everything seemed strange to him. People were wearing different clothes and everyone was staring at him. An employee commented on his clothes. Damien replied jokingly, but everyone found his words very rude. Then Damien asked Ruby for an ice pack, but Ruby scolded him. She also scolded him for barging into Alex's office. Damien laughed and said, "Relax, I fired her." Just then, Alex walked in, but her entire personality had changed. Her confidence was much stronger than before, and her clothes were very stylish. She went straight and sat in Damien's chair. Damien angrily demanded an apology, but then Fred arrived. Now Fred was dressed very simply and had come to bring coffee for Alex. After this, Fred took Damien aside and asked, "Are you stressed? After all, you've been hired as the male creative director." Hearing this, Damien was stunned. He walked around the entire office, and what he saw shook his world. Felicity was now the CEO of the company. All the secretaries were male. In advertisements, men were modeling in their underwear. Frightened and confused, Damien ran out of the office. He tried to hail a taxi, but a female driver refused to let him in and made a dirty comment at him. On the streets, men were taking care of children, carrying shopping bags, and only men were visible in every advertisement. A panicked Damien reached his home, but everything there had changed too. On the table were magazines about house husbands. The fridge was stocked with healthy diet food, and even the titles of the books had changed. Then Damien turned on the TV and was stunned to see that even the Pope was now a woman. On the streets, a group called Menonists was protesting. Their slogan was, "The seed is theirs, so the decision should be theirs too." Just then, a cat jumped onto the sofa, and Damien screamed in fear. Panicking, he went to his family home. There, his nephews were doing each other's hair, while his mother and sister Sunny were relaxing watching TV. Just then, Sunny loudly passed gas. Seeing this, Damien became even more distressed. He went into the kitchen where his father was cooking. Now Damien was completely breaking down. Seeing his condition, his father started crying. After this, Damien returned to the street and deliberately tried to hit his head against a pole multiple times, hoping that everything would go back to how it was. But nothing changed. Exhausted, he sat down on a bench. Just then, the same pigeon man came and sat beside him. He explained that he too had come from the same world as Damien, a world ruled by men. But he had been trapped in this world for the past 9 years. The pigeon man also told him that there was one other man who had managed to return. But he could only go back when he regained his power in this world. Hearing this, a faint smile appeared on Damien's face. He thought this task would be very easy for him. The next morning, Damien woke up to find the cat comfortably sitting on his bed. He got up in a panic and went to take a shower, but the shower was so small he couldn't bathe properly because it was designed for women. After this, Damien took the subway to go to the office, but his troubles didn't end there. In the crowded subway, a woman deliberately stood extremely close to him and kept rubbing against his body. For the first time, Damien felt as uncomfortable and helpless as he had probably ever made someone else feel. On the other side, Alex's life had completely changed. She had custody of Charlie, and a male maid was preparing breakfast at her house. While eating breakfast, Alex read the newspaper, which had big news that Saudi Arabia had finally allowed men to drive. As soon as Damien reached the office, he went straight to Felicity and tried to flirt with her as usual. But Felicity didn't even recognize him and scolded him, throwing him out. A little later, the creative meeting began. Alex announced that Guinness wanted to launch a wine for men, so everyone started giving new advertisement ideas. But now the world had completely flipped. Women were saying very offensive and stereotypical things about men. For the first time, Damien felt how humiliating it was to hear such things. When he protested, Alex called him too sensitive. She joked that men become aggressive if they don't masturbate once a week. Not only that, she warned Damien that if he caused any disturbance in the meeting, he would be fired. In the evening, Alex and Felicity sat at a bar having drinks. They mocked the Menonist movement and then started flirting with much younger boys. Meanwhile, Damien asked Sunny how to gain respect and attention from people in the office. Sunny explained that looking attractive was the most important thing. The next day, Chris took him shopping, while Sunny followed behind, carrying the shopping bags. Chris explained that if Damien didn't look good, no one would notice him, but if he looked too good, people wouldn't take him seriously. So it was important to find a balance. He even forced Damien to buy special underwear to make his bulge look bigger. After this, Damien went to a salon where all the hair on his body was removed. His hair was dyed, white hairs were removed, and curls were made to make him look cute. However, he refused to get penis extension surgery. For the next several days, Damien's life completely changed. He woke up at 5 a.m. to exercise, ate healthy food, applied beauty masks, and spent hours grooming. Slowly, his look changed so much that women on the street would whistle at him and make comments. When Damien returned to the office, even Alex complimented him. This time, when he flirted with Felicity, it worked. Felicity agreed to take him along to a business lunch with Guinness's new male CEO. During the lunch, the women were happily eating large amounts of meat, while Damien forced himself to order only a salad. Just then, the CEO said he wanted to find a new advertising company because Alex's agency had no experience with the male market. Damien tried to say something, but Alex cut him off. She reminded the CEO that Guinness had faced a harassment lawsuit in the past and had appointed a man as CEO to save their image. Then she pretended to understand how difficult leadership is for a man. Hearing her words, the CEO was pleased and agreed to work with their agency again. During this, Felicity kept rubbing Damien's thigh under the table. After the lunch, she invited Damien to her house for dinner. Damien agreed on the outside, but inside he was panicking. He immediately went to Sunny's office and asked if sleeping with the boss was necessary to advance in a career. Sunny clearly said it was illegal. After this, Damien went to a clinic and underwent penis enlargement treatment, which later made him walk in a strange way. That night, when Damien arrived at Felicity's house, she was waiting for him wearing only a robe. They flirted, and then Felicity gave him a costume to wear. After a while, Damien stood in front of her dressed as a cowboy. He spoke in a fake southern accent and even did a little dance. Damien felt humiliated inside, but Felicity loved it all. But then, in the midst of the excitement, Felicity suddenly had a heart attack and died right there. During the funeral, Damien told Fred everything, but Fred just laughed. He said that sleeping with someone didn't get you a promotion. If that were the case, all men would be in power. Just then, Damien learned that most of the men in the office had slept with Felicity, but none of them had gained anything. He also found out that a big party was being held in Felicity's memory, but he wasn't even invited. Sometime later, Damien went to meet the Pigeon Man again. His words were so sad and discouraging that, instead, they ignited a determination in Damien not to give up. He decided that he would not back down, no matter what. After this, Damien went to the country house where a big party was being held in Felicity's memory. There, he learned that the head of the staff was the same man who, in his real world, had been the CEO of Guinness. That man told Damien that his name wasn't on the guest list, but Damien confidently replied, "The time has come for Brotherhood to fight again." By evening, Alex was surprised to see that Damien was actually at the party. Damien smiled and said he would compete with her for the CEO position, but Alex laughed because she didn't believe Damien could do it. Dinner began, and Damien kept flirting with Glenda, the chairwoman of the company who would choose the new CEO in Felicity's place. Damien cleverly told her that if she chose a male CEO, people would see her as very progressive and modern. After this, Damien played a romantic and sexy song on the piano. Glenda was quite impressed with his performance and invited him to a club. Just then, Alex said she would join them too. After reaching the club, the three kept drinking continuously. Whatever drink came in front of them, they gulped it down without thinking. After a while, Glenda suddenly collapsed. Damien panicked, thinking he had caused her to die as well, but the relief was that Glenda had only passed out from the alcohol. On the way back, Damien and Alex were so drunk that for the first time, they talked to each other comfortably. Slowly, their fighting began to lessen, and they started understanding each other. After reaching home, they used Glenda's head to unlock the door, then somehow carried her to a room and put her to bed. The next morning, the company's board wanted to hear the future plans of its most important employees. Damien gave the first presentation. He gave a great speech about change, innovation, and the importance of new ideas. At the end of his speech, he released a butterfly, which flew and landed directly on Glenda's shoulder. Just then, the meeting was interrupted because Alex got a call from Charlie. Her teeth had been broken, and because it was the weekend, no dentist was available. Damien immediately said he could help because he knew the best dentist in London. He called Sunny, but Sunny started cursing him on the phone, and everyone in the meeting heard her voice. Finally, Sunny agreed to see Charlie. Alex asked Damien to come with her because she didn't want to leave him alone with Glenda. On the way back, Alex drove very fast and carelessly. Suddenly, a tire got punctured. She stopped the car and started changing the tire herself. Meanwhile, her ex-husband kept calling. Angrily, Alex explained that her ex-husband was a model who had trapped her using the child. Then she started complaining about men and said that she was the one truly deserving to be CEO. Listening to her words, Damien began to realize how terrible a person he himself had been in his real world. When Sunny finished treating Charlie, Alex thanked Damien from the heart. They both decided they should go back home, as it was too late to return to the meeting. But suddenly Alex went back to the country house and found Damien already there. They started arguing again, but this time there was a strange attraction in their argument. Slowly, they began to grow close, and finally, they became intimate. Yet, they kept trying to dominate each other, as if the fight between them was still not over. The next morning, Damien tried to sneak away, but he found that Alex had already woken up and also wanted to leave quietly without any awkwardness. They both looked at each other and laughed a little. Then Alex smiled and said, "Last night was amazing. It felt like I was with myself." Damien agreed that he had felt the same way. They both made it clear that they didn't want to start a relationship, but despite that, they realized how similar they were. For the first time, Damien felt that he had had such a long, honest, and genuine conversation with a woman. A little later, they were about to get close again when Alex's phone rang. She was told that the company had chosen her as the new CEO. Hearing this, Damien's face fell. He became angry and shouted, "You didn't even give a presentation." Then he started cursing the entire system that judges people more by their gender than by their talent. Now Alex had had enough. She looked at him coldly and clearly said, "You're fired." At the office, Fred and the other male employees gave Damien an emotional farewell, hugging him. For the first time, he realized how much sympathy and emotional support men received here. After this, Damien went outside and sat with the Pigeon Man. Just then, 2 pigeons flew and landed on his head, as if he too had now become a part of that world. Meanwhile, a big celebration party was held for Alex at the company, as she was now the new CEO. In the evening, Damien removed the pigeons from his head and went home to meet his family. There, Chris helped him clean off all the pigeon droppings. Then he said he had an idea. The next day, they both went to see a lawyer. The lawyer told them that the entire process of selecting the CEO had been fraudulent and that Damien had been wrongfully terminated, so if he wanted, he could fight a legal battle and get his position back. However, the lawyer warned that the case could get very dirty and messy, but Damien was not ready to back down. The lawyer asked if he had any personal information that could be used against his bosses. As soon as the company heard about the lawsuit, Glenda angrily said, "This is why we don't hire men." But her anger grew even more when she learned that Alex and Damien had slept together. Within a short time, the company lost a big client, and rumors began to spread that other clients might also leave. Still, Alex couldn't understand why Damien and his lawyers hadn't yet used their relationship against her. Finally, frustrated, Alex went straight to Damien's house. She angrily asked, "Why aren't you using what happened between us against me?" But Damien was confused himself. He just said, "I don't know." Just then, Alex got a call from Glenda. She told her that Damien had been made the new CEO of the company. Hearing this, Damien panicked. He shouted, "I'm not ready to come back." Then he looked up at the sky and shouted that he didn't want to return to his old world just yet. But then his foot slipped on the wet ground and his head hit the ground hard. After some time, when Damien opened his eyes, he found himself back in his real world. He immediately ran to the office. When he got there and saw Felicity alive, he happily hugged her. Then he told Ruby that she deserved a promotion and that he would take care of it soon. But right now, he needed to find Alex. At that moment, Fred asked him to come see a new campaign with the models, but this time, Damien clearly refused. He told Fred that he should be ashamed of his behavior. After this, Ruby gave him Alex's address. Before leaving the office, Damien apologized to every employee, even the cleaning lady who was actually Glenda. A little while later, Damien knocked on Alex's door. The same cat lived there, and seeing it reminded him of the other world. Charlie opened the door but immediately closed it when she saw Damien. Then Alex came out, but she also slammed the door in his face. Then Damien started apologizing loudly. Finally, Alex came back. Damien honestly said that her campaign ideas were truly brilliant. He even repeated her ideas to prove that this time he was telling the truth. Now Alex laid down some conditions and Damien said yes to everything without arguing. Finally, Alex agreed to come back to the company. A few months later, Guinness's new campaign turned out to be a massive hit. The company's sales began to skyrocket. Alex won an award for that campaign and appeared on magazine covers. And on the other side, Fred found himself trapped in that other world, where he was alone with only the Pigeon Man. So friends, I hope you liked this video. If you liked the video, then like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Till then, bye.